beautiful Sunday afternoon in Melbourne at Hisense Arena, where the Melbourne Tigers take on their arch rivals, the Sydney Kings. There are 11 matches left to be played in the NBL, and the Sydney Kings feature in 5 of them. Their destiny is well and truly in their hands. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Carpino, and as usual, when we're in Melbourne, I'm joined by 7-time most valuable player of the league, Andrew Gaze. Does this game get any better for us, Melbourne Tigers against the Sydney Kings?
No, that's right, Steve. This is an exciting one, and a real chance for either of these teams to cement themselves in that top 4 position with a win. Sydney Kings, as you mentioned, still got 5 games remaining. Have a look at the ladder. There you see it in 3rd and 4th place. You can see how tight it is. The Wollongong Hawks hurt themselves a little bit with that loss to the Cairns Taipans yesterday, and you'd have to say the rest of the team are relying on a miracle in order to make the top 4. So a lot at stake here this afternoon as we take a look at the starting 5 for the Melbourne Tigers. Nate Tomlinson and Chris Goulding. Chris Goulding had 25 in that win on Friday night. Lucas Walker playing his 100th game in the NBL. Scott Morrison, the man in the middle, has done exceptionally well against the Sydney Kings, and Mark Worthington, he's also been in some fine form of late.
Sydney Kings welcome back Jesse Sanders at the point, and that moves Magin over into the 2 spot where he is playing some good basketball. Big game last week against the Perth Wildcats. Sam Young, another outstanding matchup. Him and James Ennis going at it last week. Tommy Garland got dunked on by James Ennis. Oh my God. And AJ Ogilvy, a key factor in this game against the Melbourne Tigers, especially going against Morrison. He's got to stay out of foul trouble.
Well, that's right, and ironically, Scott Morrison's had some of his best games against the Sydney Kings, and AJ Ogilvy, as you mentioned, has been a little bit foul prone, but they really needed him the last line of defence. He leads the league in rebounding and also in block shots, so he's a very important factor for the Sydney Kings this afternoon.
All right, in this capital city clash, they will be going at it. Melbourne Tigers, Sydney Kings, here at Hisense Arena. Don't you dare miss it. Welcome back to Hisense Arena. We talked about the Melbourne Tigers in a big win over New Zealand. Andrew, 44 points in the 4th quarter. That's their biggest 4th quarter ever, especially in the 10-minute quarter era.
Yes, and not only that, Steve, it's even more impressive is the 14-point comeback at 3/4 time is the best of any team this season and was 1 point shy of a 40-minute game record. So they'd be coming into this one here with great confidence.
Working the sidelines for us this afternoon is Nathan Stremble.
Thanks, Steve. I'm here with Coach Chris Anstey. Chris, a record-breaking 44-point final quarter to come from behind against New Zealand. did you record your three-quarter time speech and play it to the boys tonight before the game?
Oh, yeah, what I said after the game, it wasn't me, it was them. And there are quarters you sit back and you appreciate what they're able to do. And I suppose the most pleasing part of that was we reverted to good habits, we reverted to what we've been working on, but we essentially hand them the keys and let them play, and sometimes that's what you got to do as a coach. So credit to the players, we don't take it for that, and it was a hell of a win.
Chris, Sydney looked different tonight with pass-first playmaker Jesse Sanders coming back. Ben Madgen, Sam Young posted big numbers with him in his first game last Sunday. How does that change the way you approach the Kings?
Yeah, we had to change the way we approach them anyway. We haven't beaten them this season yet. We haven't won at Hisense yet, and we haven't played finals in 5 years' time. So we want to cross all those things off tonight. So it's a really important game for us. Yeah, we need to be locked in. We'll see if Jesse can beat us in the perimeter. The other guys will give more help on.
Thanks, Chris. Have a good game.
All right, Nathan Struble working the sideline for us, and I tell you what, he is a hoop junkie.
He is a hoop junkie, and I'd say good first up appearance by Nathan Struble. Terrific work, but have a look at the last game. There you see it on your screen, 97 to Melbourne Tigers 84. And in fact, the Sydney Kings have won all 3 meetings this season. Chris Goulding wasn't there during that first outing, and that's a pretty important factor for the Melbourne Tigers. And Chris Goulding had a white-hot fourth period. You talk about all those points they put on the board. 15 of his 25 coming in the last quarter. And there's a moving screen, it looked like, on Mark Worthington down low. Just a little too aggressive to get Chris Goulding free on that down pick, and gets called for the foul. And Steve, the Melbourne Tigers haven't shone in the big lights, and by the big lights I mean here at Hisense Arena. They having real problems, haven't won here this season, and 8,000 people on hand here this afternoon, so they're hoping to correct their run of outs.
Young upstairs to A.J. Ogilvy, get him involved early with a nice pass from Sam Young.
Textbook execution in the half court by the Sydney Kings, and pretty passive defense there by the Melbourne Tigers to start this one off.
Walker goes hard to the basket. He's fouled. Will go to the line for 2. Probably a little disappointed he didn't finish that.
That's right. Got all the way to the basket. And have a look at Scott Morrison there. He's got the face mask on. Here in the NBL, they don't mind what colour it is. It can be any colour as long as it protects the player. In the NBA, we saw last week that LeBron James had the black Darth Vader type setup with the mask, and the NBA came down and said, no, you must have a clear face mark for... I cannot think of any conceivable reason why that would be the case. I don't know why you'd worry about what colour it is. But Sco-Mo running with the black.
And Scott Morrison, of course, protecting a broken nose.
3 weeks ago, I think it was against the Adelaide 36ers. He caught one. And just the added protection. It just gives him that edge on angriness, too. Looks a little meaner. Almost the same play they run there that time, the Sydney Kings.
Shot clock down to 5. A.J. Ogilvy cleans up, and he has got the first 2 buckets for the Kings. Great matchup between him and Scott Morrison. Always excited to see 2 big guys not have to chase around an undersized center in this league.
That's right, and in general terms, it is an undersized league, and 2 of the bigger boys we see here this afternoon get to bang against each other.
Young with the rebound, gets it over to Madgen. Tommy Garlip keeps it alive on the O glass. Uses a couple of pivots. They get it to Sanders.
Wow, they are absolutely daring him to shoot. And with an air ball from 2 meters out, you can see why they're going to step off and make Jesse Sanders prove it to the Melbourne Tigers. And Chris Goulding with a beautiful pass, that time by Mark Worthington. Tremendous cut, but what a feed. Poor passing angle that he had, but was still able to slide it through the gap and get it to Chris Goulding.
Madgen with a tough shot, hits the back of the iron. Here come the Tigers. Goulding. Did Madgen get a piece of that? He did.
Have a look at this pass. And here it is, Steve. That's a tough angle that they had there. And A.J. Ogilvy probably needs to put a little bit more pressure on the ball to help that pass. Help the guy out who's chasing Chris Goulding. And that's going to be Sam Young's on Chris Goulding as we speak.
Long bomb by Tomlinson. Long rebounds goes to Lucas Walker. That's a tough matchup for Ben Madgen. Anytime the ball goes up in the air, Walker, very good offensive rebounder. Goulding just splashes one going to his right.
Chris Goulding working well without the ball. Steve, Melbourne Tigers trying to avoid their 5th consecutive home game loss in a row. That's generally what consecutive means. Their 5th loss in a row at home. And Steve, you've got to go back all the way back to 1987 was the last time the Melbourne Tigers lost 5 in a row at home.
That's incredible. Tigers on the offensive glass here this afternoon. Get another crack at it on this possession. Goulding in a mismatch with A.J. Ogilvie. Kicks it across court to Worthington from the corner. That's short. Morrison on the offensive glass. A.J. Ogilvie runs up underneath him and gets a piece of his arm. And these are the fouls that I'm talking about with A.J. Ogilvie.
Well, they are, and that's one where you have a look at this. A.J. coming in late, and that's if that's on A.J. Ogilvie, that's a mistake. It looked like it was more on Sam Young on that replay.
It was his first foul.
And they called that on Ogilvie, did they?
Morrison puts the Tigers up by 3. Here comes Sydney after the Melbourne Tigers have scored the last 5. Young, they dare him to shoot. Goes hard to his right. Tough shot off the window. You can see why people are trying to let him shoot. When he can finish like that, last time the Tigers played Sydney, Young was just a cut above.
And I'm not sure about that. Sam Young can still knock it down from the perimeter as well. Needs a little bit more time. Obviously, the explosiveness to the rim is a strength.
Morrison has his shot blocked by A.J. Ogilvie. Good help by Tommy Garlip to slow down his forward progress. And that is why you need A.J. Ogilvie in the game. Worthington catch and shoot on the baseline out of bounds. Rims out. Young with another rebound. Young to Sanders. Reversal to Madgen. Good ball movement by Sydney. Young's baseline jumper's off. Here come the Tigers with numbers. Worthington to Goulding. He bobbles it and he lays it in.
Good flow, early signs for the Melbourne Tigers. Getting up and down the floor, mixing it up. Both these teams executing really well in the half court, getting through their sets. Sometimes not always getting the reward. Certainly Melbourne Tigers 3 of 9 from the field, 33%, 3 of 8 for the Sydney Kings, but got some good looks, some good motion. There's another good look for Ben Madgen, and this time he knocks it down. Can't leave him, let him get his feet set.
Oh my, what a blocked shot by Sam Young. A.J. Ogilvie, there's that foul. A.J. Ogilvie looking to block first. Sam Young just times that like Damian Martin.
Perhaps just mildly more explosive than Damian Martin with respect to the little fella. But Sam Young, he's been impressive since coming into the NBL individually. The Kings are 7 and 8 since his arrival, so not being able to get him over the line as far as the win-losses are concerned, but he's been very good with the alley-oop play to Lucas Walker. Beautiful pass by Nate Tomlinson, and again another well-executed play. Playing game number 100. Have a look at him. Look at the pass. That is just real good execution. And when you got a guy that can put his elbows up near the rim, I've said it before and I'll say it again, you need to put pressure on the ball. That time, Nate Tomlinson, plenty of time. Real easy pass when you got an athlete like that. You throw it anywhere up around 11 feet. He's got the elevation to enable him to go up and get it. as you saw that time.
Also, Cody Ellis just missing that. His man was the one who set the back screen. Just kind of got caught in no man's land. And that was the result. Melbourne Tigers with that token pressure. Not one of the pressing teams in the league. Madgen to Sanders. He puts it on the floor, gets to the rim, comes up short. Here come Melbourne. Push it ahead to Worthington. Outrunning the Sydney Kings. Melbourne Tigers in transition.
Ball didn't touch the floor, Steve, from one end to the other end. Good passing.
Young just inside the three-point line, comes up short, draws a blank. Here comes Melbourne again. Worthington sees a path to the basket, and nobody there. Shane Heal doesn't like what he sees. Melbourne Tigers on a 6-0 run, jump out to a 15-9 lead. And that's big for them because they are a team that struggle to put points on the board against Sydney. Average 81.6 points per game with the rest of the league, and just 72 versus the Sydney Kings. Join the conversation on Twitter, hashtag MelVSyd or Melbourne v Sydney.
Yeah, Steve, and you know, the Sydney Kings and Shane Hill will be concerned with the tempo of this game. They've won all 3 games, as we mentioned, against the Melbourne Tigers, and the Tigers have averaged 81.6 points per game, which is near the bottom of the table compared to all the other teams, but only 72 against the Sydney Kings. So clearly the advantage Sydney has had has been the way they've been able to contain them defensively.
And on the offensive end of the floor, 4 of 11, they've had some looks, haven't been able to capitalize. But like you say, the tempo would be bothering Shane Heal, those easy transition baskets for the Tigers. Still not shooting. I mean, with those easy shots, still not shooting a super percentage from the field.
Certainly improved those, 6 of 13, and anytime you get those looks around the basket, the easy ones in transition, I'm sure that timeout Shane Hill was focusing on that defensive transition as James Harvey checks into the game.
They check in a shooter. Sanders goes to the bench. Nice spin move.
That is beautiful.
And strength.
That is a beautiful, quick spin move by a 6'7" strong man. And very nimble on his feet.
Down the line, he's got one.
Not only was the spin move, just the hang time around the basket as well to make sure he wasn't going to get blocked.
Looked like he was initially going up to dunk that.
Well, that's what I think that crossed his mind.
Yeah. Changed his mind in midair. That must be nice.
5 points now for Sam Young.
Sam Young trying to fight over the top of a Mark Worthington screen. We'll see it. He has that left arm.
An interesting matchup. You've got the 2 leading scorers in the competition on averages with Sam Young and Chris Goulding on the floor this afternoon, and Sam Young taking on that challenge on the defensive end of having to chase around Chris Goulding, which is going to be labor-intensive afternoon if he stays on him for most of the game.
That's another tough shot and a soft touch off the window from Chris Goulding. After that big haul against New Zealand earlier in the week, is the #1 scorer in the competition. Nathan Stremble.
Steve, coming out of Shane Hill's timeout there, he's really unhappy with the transition defense, really angry at the guys for not chasing back, but also unhappy that they're settling for the outside shot, really wanting his guys to get on the rim, as you saw Sam Young do the first play straight out of the timeout.
Well, this season, the Sydney Kings really haven't been one of the lowest three-point field goal shooting teams in the competition. In contrast, the Melbourne Tigers happy to throw it up, and why wouldn't you when you've got one of the best in the land in Chris Goulding that can knock it down from the car park. 11 points now, 5 of 7. Might have to reevaluate the matchup by the Sydney Kings. Chris Goulding really causing some problems.
Great catch by Young. Goes up strong and misses one that he would normally make. But the catch was impressive. Looked like it was too high and it was towards the defensive side. Look at this, just goes up.
It was probably a poor pass that just got there through athleticism. And Sam Young goes to the line to shoot a couple more.
Yeah, that thing looks out of rhythm.
It did,
shots
didn't
that
it?
he's taken. And then that free throw. That one looked better and he got the result. So although the Kings have had their struggles on the offensive end of the floor, they're only down 4 to Melbourne, who look like they're dominating this game. And if you didn't check the scoreboard, you'd think it was by a bigger number.
Correct. 4-point lead now.
Fouls on Tommy Garlip was just hanging on to Aaron McMillan. He probably saved 2 points too, because that was either a dunk or a layup or a 3-point play. He had a clear path to the hoop.
There's been some quirky matchups here as McMillan goes to the line. And sometimes certain teams just can cause some problems, and Ben Madgen hasn't really enjoyed playing against the Melbourne Tigers. He's averaged 11.3 at 34% against Melbourne the past 2 seasons, but 17 points overall, so his numbers have been down against the Melbourne Tigers. But Sam Young with another spin gets to the basket.
It looks as if the Melbourne Tigers defense is just retreating way too low and allowing him to use his strength to just get right on top of the rim.
8 points now to Sam Young. I mean, he's going to look to score most times when he gets it, but the fact that the guy he's guarding's got 11 and lighting him up down the other end is just creating him with a little extra incentive on the offensive end. He's got that look in his eyes. There, he's a little disappointed he didn't get it on the transition.
Madgen up top gets his ball screen from Garlip. Madgen creates a bit of space, and when he gets that much space, it is automatic.
That was nice. Nate Tomlinson, I think, just tried to draw a foul out of the officials and gave him that space.
Walker from the wing puts it on the floor. Tough shot. As Cody Ellis just with that little bit of a ride. And Lucas Walker was already fading away with a tough angle on the hoop.
Ben Allen checking into the game for Garlip, and Brad Hill, whose numbers have been well down since Cody Ellis has arrived in the Sydney Kings, gets some early action. Lucas Walker way off to the right on that one. But Steve, the other quirky thing about this one is the form of James Harvey. He's averaged 20 points at 76% against the Melbourne Tigers, compared with 7 points at 39% against all other opponents. So James Harvey's loving the look of the Melbourne Tigers.
Madgen gets it to Hill, just keeps it in play. Madgen with 4 on the shot clock. Pulls up for a long one off the iron. Hill with the offensive rebound. Young with that pump fake, hesitation, and he's fouled by McMillan. I'm sure the officials had to have a little meeting on Sam Young's pump fake, shot fake. Because one ref called it a travel, and I'm sure he was thinking, that had to be something.
Yeah, sometimes you can just look a little awkward with the way you do it. You think you're leaving the ground when you're not really. And it does take the referees to know that some individuals do things a little bit differently, and you just got to really be attentive in the way you're going to adjudicate and watch their feet to make sure that they aren't travelling.
I know it's a lot easier from the sidelines, but Sam Young hasn't hit a jump shot yet, and it's got to be a rule to say do not go for his shot fake until he hits 2 of them in a row, or just 2 in general. Because once he gets a full head of steam going to the rim, there's not much going to get in his way.
Mustafa Farrakhan into the game. Did not attempt a field goal against the New Zealand Breakers, as Chris Goulding just having his way on the offensive end. He's up to 13.6 of 9 from the field.
That's 17 in the final quarter against New Zealand in that 44-point quarter. Earlier in the week, Harvey with a step back. Oh, my, there is no defense for that. Sideways and backwards. He covered about 10 feet on that step back.
It's tough to stop.
Goulding with a little bit of a heat check.
Through the middle sky hook off 1 foot. The way things are going, why wouldn't you? Scott Morrison to the line. Very quick minutes by Ben Allen. Cody Ellis coming back in for him. That's exchanging defense for offense. Cody Ellis coming in. He's going to be more of a threat. Expected 21 seconds to go. The Sydney Kings will hold it up for the last possession. Good substitution. Get a shooter into the game.
Tigers with those 2 free throws go up by 2. Sydney Kings with what should be the last possession of the first quarter. Imagine. Got space. Brad Hill for 3. That's good. Big bucket for Brad Hill and the Sydney Kings. The time running out. Stopper from the half-court line. Off the mark, and the Sydney Kings with a 3-point shot from Brad Hill take the lead after 1 quarter play here at Hisense Arena. 26-25. We'll be back.
Jack, I heard a little rumour that you had to practice during the week with Andrew Gaze, and you made your second half-court shot. How do you think you're going to go this afternoon?
We'll never play faster on the wall, so I'm just going to hit the backcourt. Gaze made the first shot.
All right, let's do the scissors, paper, rock to see who goes first. You ready? Go. 1, 2, 3. He got you. You're first. Scott Pendlebury. Oh, you want him to go first? Okay. All right. Jack Real, 25 grand to save the children right here. Let's give the head club and club it. Give them a bucket right here. The bucket shot, guys. Let's get on the bucket. Let's go. That's close. Oh. All right, Pendles, what do you got? Get in the hole. Oh. All right, 2.5 grand. 2.5 grand for 3. Oh, you're close with the half-court shot. Oh. All right, a layup for a grand each, so 2 grand. A grand each. Pendles, yes, sir. Nice. 3 rolls. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, our 2 friends that come along to the Melbourne Tigers game tonight. Give it up to Scott Pendlebury and Jack Real. Otherwise known as Chris Goulding and Chris Goulding. Oh.
Welcome back. We are on pace for a 100-point game with these two teams, Sydney Kings and Melbourne Tigers, going at it. Sydney Kings trying to get a clean sweep over the Tigers this year. Hill spinning, trying to get to the rim. Just about gets there. A.J. Ogilvie has a shot blocked by Aaron McMillan.
I think it was Scott Morrison down low, Steve, that was rising above and throwing that out.
Phantom of the Opera. Another block shot. This time it was by Aaron McMillan. But contact.
Hint of a goaltend as well. I think he got it before. That's McMillan got it before it actually hit the glass. But so good pass there by AJ. There again, you saw very little pressure and good work by Aaron McMillan. But unfortunately, the referees have called the body contact. Brad Hill seeing some minutes, and his minutes have plummeted since Cody Ellis has arrived. In the first 12 games, Brad Hill was averaging 21 minutes a game, and in the past 10, he's only averaging 4 minutes per game, and that three-pointer at the end of the first quarter was only his second field goal made in the last 5 outings. So he's been generating some confidence from knocking one down. Here's a little change up, Steve. A little zone defense now by the Sydney Kings. And Morrison down low.
Well, that's what they're going to give up. They're running a 3-2. And so Morrison able to just flash into the middle and had a much smaller Kevin White on his back.
Well, it looked like Kevin, there might have been an exchange, but it looked like Kevin White was on the baseline of that 2-3 as well. So not sure that's going to be the regular setup. Although the way they're setting up here, that is the case.
Worthington was wide open. They miss him. Goulding slides one in. You can tell by his body language he thought that one was a little left.
16 points now for Chris Goulding. Look out. We're on a 40-point watch here this afternoon. Chris Goulding got that look in the eye, and against the zone, his eyes they were wide open right from the tip. But now when he sees a zone, his arousal levels will even be higher.
Yeah, he does have that look in his eye.
Tommy Greer checking out of the game, into the game. Back comes Lucas Walker.
We've got Sam Young on the bench. Thanks for joining our coverage, Sam.
How you doing?
We're good. Hey, looks like you had a little tough cover with Chris Goulding. It looks like he's got his eye in. You've guarded a lot of guys that can score. How does he measure up?
He's pretty good because he can shoot it at all angles. You know, when you got a guy like that can shoot it so good, you got to be on him at all times. Or if not, it's cash money, you know?
Yeah, okay. How about Shane Hill? What was the preparation coming into this game? Oh, Sam Young's got to come into the game.
Got to get your priorities right.
He sure did.
Fair enough. We thank him for his time.
Kind of a shy guy. He doesn't say a whole lot, so I was quite surprised we got the headset on him and he was going to do a during match interview.
One of those guys that lets his game do the talking, Steve.
Yes.
And a lot of personality judging by his game. Oh my. Oh my.
There's a mental lapse there. He didn't even show a hand on Goulding. When Goulding's that hot, when anybody's that hot.
3 of 4 from the three-point line for Chris Goulding.
Hill into Ogilvie. His jump hook is long. Worthington with the rebound. Nobody on the glass for Sydney on that possession. To the hot man. Worthington just runs over Brad Hill. Brad Hill gets called for one.
He's a bull down low, and I like the strategy. Bring Mark Worthington back in and put him in on the low block. Even against the zone, he's got that strength, and if they're going to go with that little guy on the baseline, big opportunity to post up Mark Worthington. And the Melbourne Tigers holding the lead, 31-28.
Welcome back. Sydney Kings trying to hang in there with the hot shooting Chris Goulding and the Melbourne Tigers. And again, Andrew, I just keep having to check up on the scoreboard. It just seems like the Tigers are dominating, but they're only up by 3. As a matter of fact, we're talking about their win against New Zealand. It was the first time they ever got a win at Vector Arena in New Zealand. 49 venues the Melbourne Tigers have played at since they've come into the league.
Yes.
And the biggest graveyard for them was Apollo Stadium.
Never got the win there. And I believe that's no longer in existence. And from a Melbourne Tigers standpoint, happy to see it go. Because it was not a happy hunting ground for the Melbourne Tigers. But I tell you what is a happy hunting ground is the rebound count. The Melbourne Tigers are dominating on the, well, not dominating, but they're leading on the glass 13-9. And that's an area in their 3 defeats against the Sydney Kings that they've been beaten in each of those games on the glass. So real concerted effort so far by the Melbourne Tigers to try and correct that. And as such, they hold a 5-point lead.
Well, working the sidelines for us is our own hoop junkie, Nathan Stremple. What do you got?
Thanks, Steve. Shane Heal in that timeout, continuing to implore Sam Young to attack the basket. Contrary to that at quarter time, Chris Anstey said to his players the key way looks like a highway for Sam Young and challenged his players to step in front of him. But I don't know about you guys. I reckon he's the player in the league you'd least like to step in front of.
That'll count on Mark Worthington as Sanders misses the medium-range jump shot. A.J. Ogilvy pounding the offensive glass, was fouled on that controlled tip.
I'm not sure if it's just a one-off, but that time we saw the Melbourne Tigers packing it in a 2-3 zone and a good tip. Gee, not a lot of contact on that. Oh, I'm not sure how he... Oh, good. Mark Worthing got picked up at that one. But that sends Mark Worthing to the bench with 3 personal fouls, and Owen Otoji comes into the game. Owen Otoji emerging as an offensive threat, but primarily does his best work so far in the early stage of his career on the defensive end and around the glass.
Morrison down low, his left-hand jump hook is point blank.
You know, he missed it, but that was a high percentage play that he just came up short with. They don't send a double team. That's going to be on a lot more unless they make some adjustments, particularly against Ogilvy. And there's another pretty soft foul. Look. Take a look at this one here.
Wow, that was soft.
As you could see, Lucas Walker didn't agree with the decision.
He didn't need a slow motion replay for that one either. There's that pump fake again, and another pump fake and a score.
You know, I'm not sure this is the right matchup. I was talking about Owen Otoji down low here, that he's up against a former NBA player that down low, he's going to have the advantage. Chris Anstey's seen enough of it. He wants to call a timeout, and he looks a little angry.
That pump fake of Sam Young, I know we have gone on and on about it, but it is something that I've never seen it before.
Well, the young fella there, Owen Otoji, as we take a look at the replay, he's got to learn that when you're up against a superstar in the competition and you're only going to be playing limited minutes and you're out there trying to avoid mistakes, what he should be doing is working on denying the pass in low. Make him throw a lob pass, beat you over the top, but prevent him from catching it to minimise it. Take a look at the upcoming action and top of the table clash. The Adelaide 36ers and the Perth Wildcats going at it, which most people would consider is going to be the grand final this season. And I reckon the Adelaide fans will come out with a little extra venom in their voice on the back of the little argy-bargy that took place at the end of the game when they last played over in Perth. So Adelaide 36ers fans, get out there and get your tickets because that's going to be a cracker.
Well, the Adelaide fans, they don't need much to get themselves rolling. And I would imagine that great rivalry between the Perth Wildcats and the Adelaide 36ers, if that's what it comes down to, will be pumping. Now, of course, we want the best teams to be there. Whoever wins to be great, but Everybody anticipates that one.
Well, you know, it's a good dress rehearsal, Steve, because at the end of the day, they're going to finish 1 and 2. That's locked in. So not necessarily a lot at stake other than having a look what lies ahead.
Nathan Strembel's got an injury report.
I spoke to Doc Garner of the Melbourne Tigers and asked if he's okay. His word was, his definition of his injury was that he's very angry.
We missed the start of that, Nathan. Who was that report on?
That was on Mark Worthington, who had gone into the locker room. He took a chair, and it looked like an ice pack, but maybe that was for his head to cool down his temper. And back to the action. Jesse Sanders in the passing lane.
You know, that is a real soft, poor pass by Scott Morrison on that one. Have a look at this. The overplay's there. I mean, I don't know how that was ever going to make it. A soft, loopy pass.
He just looked in two minds about it.
Just like trying to get through the set play without the penalties there. When a guy's overplaying like that, it's a similar play right there to what the Wollongong Hawks have run at Gordy McLeod, where they run that X-cuff off the post. But they often send that, when they reverse the ball, send a backdoor cut, and that was the option that was clearly on there with such an overplay.
Sanders hits them both.
And you know, Jesse Sanders is limited from the perimeter, but a real smart player. And in college, Steve, every year he's played at the college level, he had at least 1 triple-double. Wow. So he's a stats stuffer, and this is a scoring machine. Chris Goulding splashes another 3-pointer, and he's up to 22 points, and we've still got almost 6 minutes remaining in the second quarter. Incredible stuff.
We don't see too many 40s. There's that pump fake. Nobody goes for it this time, and Sam Young's able to knock down the medium-range jump shot, which makes his pump fake even more dangerous. Greer up top to the hot man. Goulding got space.
Oh my.
Doesn't bother hitting the rim. 24 points, Chris Goulding. We got 5 minutes and 15 seconds, or 5 minutes and 5 seconds to go here till halftime.
10 of 14, 4 of 5 from the 3-point line, and a couple of rebounds to add to that tally. Look at the space they're giving Sanders.
They give it to him again. Sanders lines up the 3-ball. That looked like a better shot this time, but it rimmed out. Tigers down by 2. They sag off of Tomlinson. He shoots an air ball.
Adam Ballinger coming into the game for Lucas Walker. And you know, the Melbourne Tigers, as they have been, they're going to milk Chris Anstey. When you're on these hot streaks, just keep going to him until he cools down, which they have been. 14 field goal attempts already.
Good feed into A.J. Ogilvy, and he gets the left-hander to go, and that interior pass came from Jesse Sanders.
Little 2-3 zone by the Melbourne Tigers. 42-38.
Wow. Chris Goulding putting on a clinic for the Melbourne Tigers. 26 points.
Get on the phone, get on the Twitter, get on the Facebook or whatever you young folk do out there, and get them to tune in, because we are seeing a shooting explosion by Chris Goulding.
Correction, 27 points as Scott Morrison is rewarded for his transition. Shane Heal in disbelief. Young again to Jesse Sanders. They've been leaving him wide open. Garlip going baselines, fouled by Ballinger.
They're really leaving this 2-3 zone is real passive, packing it in and just trying to protect the paint. Sanders, Garlip, virtually everyone out there except for Ben Madgen, they're conceding and daring him to make a shot from the perimeter.
Fouls on the line due to hand covers.
And sometimes when you pack it in like that, you can forget to play defense.
Right now, the Sydney Kings, they lead it. But of 43 points, 27 of them have come off the hot hand of Chris Goulding. And whenever someone's in a groove like this, it just looks so easy. The game's coming so nice to him. Oh, no. And when you start overplaying the down picks, it opens up the backdoor cut. 29 points now.
And you were saying that we could have a 40-point game. Well, we might be looking at a 50. Dumps it down to A.J. Ogilvy, can't come up with it. Magin steps into the pass. Good heads-up play. I'm not sure who gets the score for that one, but it'll count for Sydney.
Sam Young now back on. Excuse me, they got Sanders on Chris Goulding, trying to put a little bit of pace on him. Goulding's got a size advantage, so might want to consider putting him on the block as well.
Well, they've tried a few different people on him, and it's been the same result. Ballinger, that's good. And that opens it up for your teammates. When Goulding's coming off of those screens, the help's got to show. Garlip to Magin. He's wide open from 17. Off the mark. Tigers with a 1-point lead. Offensive rebound from Scott. Sorry, offensive foul from Scott Morrison.
Off the ball, Scott Morrison just running down, and Ben Magin just stopped dead on him. Wasn't a lot of contact in there. And Scott Morrison with his third personal foul. So some foul issues for the Melbourne Tigers with Worthington and Morrison now on 3.
Worthington's back on the bench. He's cooled down from that soft foul that was called on him.
39.
Floater is Tommy Garlip.
That was just an absolute invitation to shoot it. And Tommy Garlip did the right thing. Rather than settling for the free throw shot, he just one dribble, went in and made an easy shot even easier.
That zone left Goulding open for a little while. Even when he misses, it's not by much. Tomlinson turns it down, gives it to Tommy Greer. Long rebound to Ballinger.
39 points is the individual high so far this season. And Tommy Greer misses his first, makes the adjustment, and knocks down the second, and gives the Tigers a 2-point lead.
I was glad to see him take that second from the same exact spot. Magin upstairs to Young. He spins around and shows you his patience around the rim. And a little bit of athleticism, too. Tigers here in the last minute of the first half. Ballinger rips it through. Fall away jump shot from the baseline. It's pulled down by Garlip. Young. No call. Magin. Tough shot. And he'll go to the foul line. I thought Goulding did a good job of anticipating which way Young was going to go.
He did, but you know, I like that. I like that no call. It's not like he was careering out of control. He just stepped in front of him. Not a lot of contact. And timeout now.
Crowd didn't like it, but I got to agree with you, Andrew.
It's not like Sam Young was out of control. I think there's an element of flopping going on in that. He certainly made contact. But good no call from my view, but we've seen some shooting displays here. Rodney Clark has lit the league up from the perimeter. But in this first half, this is the best shooting display I've seen in an NBL game for years.
Yeah, I was wondering how big of a statement you're about to make. This is as hot a shooting I've seen in a half. People in Wollongong probably say they've seen Rodney Clark light it up, but what a great race for the NBL's leading scorer going into the weekend. Of course, calculating Chris Goulding's Friday match, he would move into the top spot, but going into the weekend, Sam Young was leading the league and scoring at 22 per game. Chris Goulding was second coming into the week.
And the updated on that one, Steve, is that Chris Goulding, as it was before this game, 22.1, and Sam Young was 22, and James Ennis was 21.8. So they are averages, of course, and Rodney Clark, let's not forget about him, 21.7. So real logjam at the top of the table on the scoring.
Oh, for sure.
And Sam Young, of course, not the same number of points because he missed the first almost half of the season.
I like that on points per game, too, if a guy's injured or somebody's played 3 more games.
You gotta have a minimum. You gotta have a minimum.
Exactly. I always used to hate that, too. See, guys always leading the league in free throw shooting, and he's 4 for 4.
14 points now for Ben Madgen.
McMillan can't get it. Shot clock differential of about 6 seconds. The Sydney Kings
not quite
try
enough
and take this into halftime.
Sorry, Steve, but not quite enough for a 2 for 1, so they'll run this down to as low as they can before launching it.
Garland, shot clock down to 3. He's got a good look at it. Young keeps it alive. Shot blocked by McMillan. Long attempt. Is wide. But a couple of tough defensive plays by the Melbourne Tigers keep them within 2. First half here from Hisense Arena. Sydney Kings 53, Melbourne Tigers 51. But what a display by Chris Goulding. Nathan Strimple on the sideline.
Chris Goulding here with you. LeBron James scored 61 the other day. Scott Morrison's got the LeBron Master. Does that inspire you along for a 29-point half?
Not at all. We got down. We didn't play the way we should. End of the first quarter, start of the second, so need to try and do something to keep us in the ball game. We've got to have a better second half.
What is it specifically, Chris? 2-point game. What's going to get you over the line in the second half?
Working harder. They're getting all the offensive rebounds and deflections. We've got to step up and get some of them. We ain't playing hard enough.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate your time. Have a good second half. 53-51 the score. The Kings leading by 2. We'll be back with the second half action shortly.
got a special electricity and gas offer from Dodo. The Tigers fans, sign up to Dodo's Flex Plan, half hour of power. It will receive free electricity from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. every day. Plus receive an amazing 30% off.
With the playoffs just around the corner, these teams are playing like it, with some hot shooting from Chris Goulding, the Sydney Kings. No turnovers at all in the first half for the Sydney Kings, so the Sydney Kings have come here taking care of business.
Well, they are so far, and what a free-flowing offensive game we've got. Real entertaining to watch, and Chris Goulding just putting on a display. The Melbourne Tigers have taken 34 field goal attempts in total. 17 of those have come at the hand of Chris Goulding, so they're really making a focal point of him, and why wouldn't you? He's on fire from the perimeter.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, Nathan Strumble spoke to Chris Goulding at the halftime break, and he talked about the guys going out and getting the deflections, getting those offensive rebounds and things like that. And so the Sydney Kings in the effort area, especially Chris Goulding, thinks that they need to step it up.
Well, that's right. And you look at those stats, and the Melbourne Tigers, as we mentioned, were leading the rebound count, but at halftime trailing it ever so slightly. So that's helped the Sydney Kings keep their momentum going as well. So the impressive thing that wasn't shown on that stats, and I don't know if it's correct, but according to these stats, the Sydney Kings have yet to have a turnover in the game. The Melbourne Tigers have only had 4. So perhaps that's an indication of the level of defensive intensity going on out there, but I'd certainly just put it down to some real good offense.
Well, as you check out the highlights, and a lot of these shots are coming when teams are playing zone, so maybe we'll see a bit more man-to-man in the second half by both of these teams, maybe a step up the intensity on the defense a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, they had to mix it up, didn't they? Because both teams came out and their execution in the man-to-man against the man-to-man offense was excellent. Some real easy points being created. So both teams then had a look at a zone, and it really didn't change much out there, did it, Steve? They both continued to score pretty well. So at the halftime, I'm sure both these coaches will be focusing on how they can contain the other team and what they need to do defensively in order to give their team the advantage.
All right, well, one thing you have to do is check out the coaches, and two intense coaches going at it this afternoon. Chris Anstey and, of course, Shane Heal, and Chris Anstey has some special sounds.
Hey, we're going to stay off the refs all night. Even keel emotionally now. Long way to go. We look great when we rebound and run. Continue to explore that. Continue to be aggressive on the offensive end. What you're doing is good. Thank you.
Swirl those second.
Okay. Oren, get Scott. He's going to get that. You're going to come up with that loose ball. Get his hands off. Get his hands off. Every time you go over the shoulder, it's going to be a foul. If you don't get your work done early, play behind and contest like you did. Fill your spots. If you're open, knock that thing down. If we don't get a good shot out of the early, we take one possession.
Well, that's Chris Anstey, but plenty more to stick around for. The hot shooting of Chris Goulding. Make sure you check out third quarter action here from Hisense.
I got my eyes on you. You're everything that I see. I want your high love and emotion endlessly. I can't get over you. You left your mark on me. I want your high love and emotion endlessly. 'Cause you're
Tigers back out on the floor here. 3 minutes before we start the second half. We're going over. He's breaking off the Russell Westbrook glasses. And he's come out just like Dr. Smooth now. Joshy, take it away, son. Thanks, Ralph. We've got Chris Goulding on 29 points in the first half. He's got foul trouble 4. Lucas Walker, Mark Worthington, and Scott Morrison all with 3 fouls each. And Sam Young and Ben Madgen for the Sydney Kings. 15 rebounds for Sydney Kings and 18 to the Melbourne Tigers. And it is 51 the Tigers, 53 Sydney Kings. Let's go Tigers.
We're at Hisense Arena here, Melbourne Tigers and Sydney Kings, and they are going at it. Matchup between the coaches and two great NBL players. Teams that have had some great traditional rivalries going back to the Andrew Gaze, Shane Heal eras. Of course, Mark Bradkey, Leonard Copeland, and Brian Gorgon when he went over there and won those 3 championships. Some great times.
Well, that's right. And, of course, that playoff series where Alan Westover was at the helm, some great times for the Melbourne Tigers taking on the Sydney Kings and vice versa. But this is a beauty we've got our hands here this afternoon, Steve. 51-53, putting some points on the board, both these teams.
And that's just amazing. The Sydney Kings haven't made a turnover. Amazing the Melbourne Tigers have only made 4. What an efficient game. And, you know, you can say, well, we can say very easily it's lack of defense, but still guys are making plays through traffic, spinning through double teams and coming up with some pretty amazing plays. So very efficient game here that we have been witness to. Also a great scoring half. And Chris Goulding, Nathan Strommel has Shane Heal.
Coach of the Sydney Kings, Shane Hill. Shane, Chris Goulding, 29 points in the first half. How do you go about stopping him in the second?
We certainly have to make some adjustments with the person defending the ball on those pin downs, and made an adjustment on the pick and rolls as well. But he's a class player. He makes some tough shots, and I think we'll pick it up in the second half.
Also for you offensively, though, Sam Young and Ben Madgen, 30 points between them. Happy with those guys attacking the rim?
Offensively, it's been great. We haven't had a turnover. We're shooting the ball at 53%. So we're right on the offensive end. We have to get some stops, and if we do that, I think good things will happen.
Thanks, Coach. Have a good half.
Good no call there is A.J. Ogilvie.
Straight up and down, wasn't he, Steve? Chris Goulding just driving in there, thinking more about drawing a foul than putting it in the basket. And good no call, like you mentioned.
He's trying to get to the foul line for the first time. Tries to feed it into Morrison. He misses a layup. The tip in. Worthington can't get it. He's blocked by Sam Young from the weak side. So quite a few block shots in this game by both teams. Young into Ogilvie. His jump shot is no good. 4 Melbourne Tigers on the glass and nobody for Sydney. That's the lineup that Sydney have on the floor right now.
Again, a mismatch down low. Ben Madgen, as we take a look at the players on the court for the Melbourne Tigers. Chris Goulding comes out with an 0-for-2 start to the second half. Shane Hill not happy with that decision. The out-of-bounds one.
fresh 24 for the Melbourne Tigers.
Tomlinson looking for the alley-oop for Lucas. Sydney onto that one. Pass thrown to Jesse Sanders. Garlip with the hustle. And Sanders with the finish. Just looked over his shoulder at Garlip enough to get Tomlinson to hesitate. Goulding with the reverse layup, and he continues where he left off in the first half. 31 points for Chris Goulding.
And that's what would really upset Shane Heal. We heard him speak to Nathan at the halftime break. The transition defense, they're the sort of points you've got to be able to cope with, and that was a real easy one for Chris Goulding. Good hustle by Lucas Walker.
He pointed the wrong way.
How is that not Sydney's
No,
ball?
he pointed the wrong way.
Oh, okay. Going to say, that was... There you see the hustle. Great hustle, diving effort. Could have almost been a hint of a foul for the push, but Sydney Kings get it back anyway. Only 5 seconds remaining on the shot clock, so they're not going to have time to do much here.
Tommy Garlip will get it to Magin. He gets a long bomb. Look at it. It's the corner of the backboard. Tigers get the stop. Worthington looking for the post up. Walker to Morrison, going baseline around A.J. Ogilvy.
We were trying to give a lot of credit to the offense, and I think we needed to in the first half, but that right there is an example of some pretty poor defense. One step around for the two-handed dunk. A.J. Ogilvy concerned about that picking up another foul, but you've got to be able to move your feet, slide, keep the offense in front of you.
Fouls on number 43, Chris Goulding. That's his first personal foul, and that would be one way to slow down his scoring, get him into foul trouble, but he's a long way from that. Magin with a good ball fake, gets Tomlinson on his toes, and he splashes that. Ben Magin, whenever he had space, that's been the result.
What Ben Magin does better than anyone in the league, he can be full out accelerating and pull up and stop and still be under control to pull up that shot. And there was a good example of it right there. Aggressive driving, then be able to stop so quickly and keep control. Good leg strength.
Magin tries to throw it upstairs to Young. Just off the mark. It looked like Young was anticipating going for rebounding position.
Magin was thinking alley-oop.
There's that foul.
And that's what also Shane Heal was talking about. On those pin downs, when Chris Goulding comes out, you've got to come out and pressure the ball. And when you've got a guy who's on fire like Goulding, Ogilvy trying to adhere to those instructions and put pressure on the ball, but reaches in and gets called for, gee, from where we're sitting, it looks like a soft one, but anytime the big fellas put their hands in like that, you always are vulnerable, get picked up for a foul.
Worthington putting it on the floor, tries to throw it back to Morrison. Anticipated well by Sanders. He turns the corner and he's fouled.
Only 6 turnovers to the Melbourne Tigers. And incredibly, the Sydney Kings had none. Here's that last play. Now, it's a lot of ball in that one. A.J. Ogilvy, again, finds himself in just a touch of foul problems. 3rd personal foul to Ogilvy on a pretty soft one.
Young turns around, jump shot, it's off the mark, rattles out. Tigers, no numbers. Tomlinson gets it into Morrison. Hands foul on Tommy Garlip. Still a 2-point game here in Isense between the number 3 team in the competition on the ladder, the Melbourne Tigers, and the Sydney Kings, currently at 4th spot. And what a logjam. For the 3rd and the 4th spot, of course, Wollongong and Cairns still in the mix. Young anticipates it. And another turnover by the Tigers. Young. Garlip has a wide open 17-footer short. Lucas Walker catch and shoot from the baseline. Young with another rebound. Skips it to Magin. Good look from Young to find the red-hot Ben Maggi. Splashes it from the corner. Kings up by 5.
19 for Magin. Catch and shoot. You've got to make Magin put it to the floor. I know he's tough coming off that dribble, but that's the lesser of two evils. As Nate Tomlinson just crab dribbles his way into the basket and picks up an easy 2. So the scoring, although not shooting as quite as well as scoring, still keeps ticking over. First team that can get any sort of control on the defensive end, you would think is going to have the advantage.
Sanders' jumper comes up short again. Tomlinson to Goulding. Yes. Chris Goulding at a scorching 14 for 21 from the field. A red-hot 67% overall. 75 outside the three-point line as he hits his 6th three-pointer. You got to catch him. You got to find him in transition. He is a priority.
And that's great play by Nate Tomlinson there. Reading the play. He's got the trailers coming on, but he's identified the hot man. Kicks it to him. An easy spot up. And if you want to join the conversation and perhaps give your thoughts on Chris Goulding, there's the Twitter handle. Hashtag NBL Melb VSID. And give us your thoughts, because this is some sort of game being put together by Chris Goulding.
Give us some of your thoughts on a hotter shooting night that somebody has had that you have witnessed in the NBL, and there have been plenty.
Well, this season, Rodney Clark comes to mind. He's put up the big number in 39 in one outing, but I reckon you've got to go back quite some time to see a display that we're seeing this afternoon by Chris Goulding. And it just looks, his tempo, even on that last shot, he gets it. It's not like he's in a rush or he's anxious about it. Just a sweet, rhythmic stroking of the ball.
Nathan's running the sidelines for us.
Thanks, Steve. Shane Hill really unhappy with the lack of energy on defense. Pulled Cody Ellis out as a result. He's put Kevin White onto Chris Goulding now. But in terms of energy, it's interesting to see each break and each time out. Jesse Sanders has always been the one puffing hardest. Maybe his conditioning a question mark with a few months without match practice.
Good point. We'll look for that. Young's free throw line jumper comes up short. Worthington after a Tommy Greer rebound. We got Lucas Walker on the bench for the Melbourne Tigers. Have you seen Chris Goulding shoot the basketball like he has this afternoon?
Not in a game, no. At practice, yes, all the time, but it's good to see it transfer over.
And Lucas, what about the defensive end as Tommy Greer splashes his second three for the afternoon? But defensively, you've given up 60 points already. That would have been the focus at halftime, I would have imagined.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just gave them too many offensive rebounds, so that's where they're getting second chance points, but we just got to limit those this half.
All right, thanks for that, Lucas Walker. Sydney Kings find themselves down by 3. Young trying to get to the rim. His pull-up jump shot is long. And a sea of gold jumpers pulls down the board. Chris Goulding. He's got some space. That's good. This is incredible. That takes his tally to 37 on just 22 shots.
By my calculations, Steve, and they are not always accurate, but career high now for Chris Goulding.
Sam Young not happy with that last pushing call.
7 of 9 from the three-point line for Chris Goulding. 15 of 22. Chris Goulding already has the season high in field goal attempts at 26. So he should smash that. If he doesn't, there's something wrong with the Melbourne Tigers, because a man's this hot. Get him the ball and get him launching them.
He is single-handedly handing the Sydney Kings their hat. There he is again. He's got a good look. Finally misses one. Hill trying to get to the rim. Melbourne Tigers defense collapses. Young still trying to find some space. He burrows through the entire defense of the Tigers and keeps the ball alive.
Great pass.
Garlip misses the layup, and it's knocked off the rim by Morrison. Goulding getting to the rim. That will not go, but he'll go to the foul line.
Using ours from 8,000 people here at Hisense Arena.
And an astonishing stat of his shooting is this is the first time he'll go to the foul line. With all those points, he misses one jump shot and he makes it a point to get to the rim. He has got his scorer's hat on this afternoon.
He has, and you just get a sense that the Sydney Kings just not being able to shoot with the Melbourne Tigers offensively the last few minutes. Just a little bit anxious on the offensive end. We saw Sam Young just burrow his way in, tried to beat 1-on-3, and I think that just alerted Shane Heal to the bench. Sydney are at their best when they run through their sets. They're more methodical about it and then get Sam Young involved rather than just throwing it at one time down the floor and having him try and take on 3 or 4 guys. Despite the hot hand, Chris Goulding goes 0 for 2 from the free throw line.
Baseline out of bounds, executed well by the Tigers for a layup. And the Melbourne Tigers have scored the last 13 points. Shane Heal not happy with his troops on the defensive end as the Tigers get a point-blank layup on it. Very easily executed baseline out of bounds. Let's see where these shots have come from.
Yes, they are. And look at that from the perimeter. That is spectacular. 7 of 10 from the three-point line. 6 of 8 around the basket. And really hasn't spent a lot of time in that mid-range. Only the 3 field goal attempts. So it's either all the way to the rack for Chris Goulding, or he's going to blaze away from the three-point line. And surprisingly, 0 of 2. And you know what that says to me? Because Chris Goulding's a respectable free throw shooter, that he's thinking about it. When he's out in the flow, he's realised, he goes, I'm on a career night here. Already got 37, a couple of freebies. You start thinking about it when no defense is there, and he comes up blank from the three-point line, excuse me, from the foul line. But some sort of shooting display by him. And Mark Worthington, we saw him getting involved. He's got the 8 points, 3 of 8 from the field. And, you know, these are one of those nights that when you got a guy that is hot as Chris Goulding, it's important that your teammates understand that and say, hey, let's milk this. And sometimes you have to sacrifice your game when you've got a hot hand like that.
Garlip trying to find their hot man. An illegal screen on Tommy Garlip.
Ever so slight, wasn't a lot in it. Slight just of ducking it. Have a look at this. And there you see it. And just can't do that. It's not much in it. He stays straight. He's probably going to be just as effective. 2-3 zone by the Sydney Kings.
Tomlinson gets it back from Worthington. Tommy Greer's already hit 2 of those. Can't get it that time. And Melbourne with a much smaller Sydney Kings lineup out there trying to rebound out of that zone. Any offensive rebound is up for grabs for the Tigers.
Shane Hill just trying to find a formula now, primarily on the offensive end. As you mentioned, being outscored 13-0 in the last 4 or 5 minutes.
Magic finds Harvey. his little scoop shot. A tough shot made to look easy, something he's been doing over the years. And even though Melbourne, again, have looked to dominate this game, it's Sydney that has stayed close. It's only a 6-point game. Goulding down on the block and a smaller Jesse Sanders. Tough fall away. Is run down by Tommy Greer. And Shane sticking with this small lineup. And it's always going to be tough for them to rebound.
And I like the change. The last time down the floor, we saw James Harvey come off that pick and Chris Goulding was guarding him. Chris Anstey, I think, done the right thing. Put Goulding onto Sanders to try and give him a little bit of a spell and not have to chase.
Madgen or Harvey.
Yeah, any of those two guys chase them around and just sag off. So, good move by Chris Anstey. And there you see they're just backing right off Sanders.
Harvey trying to get to the rim, traveled.
Definitely looked like a foul at the end of it. Must have dragged his pivot foot before the foul.
Yeah, he definitely got fouled. The travel came first, according to Vaughn Mabry. Goulding looking for some space. Tries to thread the needle to Morrison. We'll go the other way.
See everything on the offensive ends going through Chris Goulding now. That was the right idea. Good look. Had Morrison on the slip. Just a poor pass. Didn't quite have the angle.
Harvey trying to find Madgen from the baseline. That was deep. Run down by Tommy Garlip. Didn't see Tommy Greer behind him.
7 seconds remaining. Last play coming up.
Madgen pull up, going right. He thought that was good. Hits the back of the iron. Can't get it to go. That quarter belonged to the Melbourne Tigers with an 8-point lead with one more quarter to go. 70-62 from Hisense Arena. Welcome to the Chris Goulding Show. 37 points already in this game. Got a quarter to go. Sydney Kings trying to hang in there and weather the storm of his hot shooting. But it's been a little bit too much for the Sydney Kings to handle. They got A.J. Ogilvy back into the lineup, as well as Sam Young. Nathan Strebel.
Steve, Shane's huddled there. The message has been the same all game, emphasising defence. They're going to a 1-3-1 zone to try and use a team effort to keep Goulding quiet. But he said several times, we have to know where Goulding is.
They certainly do, and they've done a good job on the boards. The Melbourne Tigers this afternoon, they lead that category 30-21, and when you consider they trailed that category at halftime, good third quarter rebounding effort by the Melbourne Tigers. And a lot of that's come from misses. The field goal percentage now for the Sydney Kings is down to 42%.
Ellis with a long bomb on a nice pass from James Harvey. Big three-point shot makes it a 5-point game. Well, the Kings down by 8 before that one. In the 97 games played in the NBA, only 5 teams, or 5 times teams have come back by more than a deficit of 5. Make that 6 with the Tigers doing it again against New Zealand. As Chris Goulding takes his total to 39.
See, Steve, I don't care what defense you play, 1-3 run, 2-3 zone, whatever. You cannot have Chris Goulding being able to simply catch it and shoot it like he did. When a guy's that hot, you got to keep it out of his hands, work more on denial regardless of what you're doing, because he's feeling it. That ring up there looks like a hula hoop to him, and if you can get it up, high probability it's going in.
Here he goes again, a little hesitation. Left-hand floater just hangs on the rim long enough. They get it back to Goulding. Good heads-up play from Worthington. Wow. Worthington was wide open, but saw Chris Goulding coming. He splashes another one down. 42 points.
8 of 11 from the three-point line. Becomes the highest individual scorer in a game this season.
There's Magin. He's short. A.J. Ogilvy can't get it. Morrison can. Tomlinson after some suspect ball handling. I don't know what happened there.
I think it's going to go against A.J. Ogilvy. No, Ben Magin.
Magin with a hold.
Have a look.
And I don't know where he was holding.
Guys are just throwing their arms all around. A little bit of holding going both ways by the look of that one.
A little bit of throwing, but...
And throwing, if that's, yeah, probably more accurate description.
It was bad acting, I know that. They just needed to call something because it was ugly. Goulding with a tough shot as the shot clock expires.
Seems like we got a 24-second shot clock freezing on 0-0. So the referee, they fix it up. Now, it'll be interesting to see if they give him the full 24 here. It's down to 19 at the moment. Probably about right, I'd guess. Shane Hill wants the full 24. It's not their fault the scoreboard went kaput.
Well, they're at a disadvantage, and now they got to inbound it all over again. To Ellis, who hit from the other side, comes up short. Tigers just trying to take care of business. Shot clock down to 7. Tomlinson to Worthington. Creates a bit of space for himself, comes up short on the bank.
I like what the Sydney Kings are doing right now. Straight man-to-man in full denial. attempting to fully deny Chris Goulding from getting the ball, and back-to-back three-pointers to Cody Ellis.
And he just shoots the ball too well for you just to let him catch and shoot like that. Not guarding him at all. They've done a good job at laying off the right people, but not that time. Sydney trying to hang in there. We'll be back with more fourth quarter action. Cody Ellis with the three, and it was a double-figure lead, and now it is just 7. The Sydney Kings, who are trying to complete a sweep over the Melbourne Tigers. And interesting with those three teams, the Sydney Kings, the Melbourne Tigers, and the Wollongong Hawks, how they've all dominated one another. Of course,
That's
Sydney,
right. And the Melbourne Tigers only got 2 games remaining after this one. They've only got, they're both on the road. So this home win should virtually secure that third placing. I mean, strange things can happen. The Sydney Kings have still got another 4 games remaining after this, but that's why this game real critical for the Melbourne Tigers. In fact, what does it squares the ledger too. Before this game this afternoon, they were 6 and 7, and Nathan Stremple, he was working the sidelines like a madman over there, and he's got something to say.
Thanks, Andrew. Just a word from Chris's timeout. D-Mac and Chris Anstey really unhappy defensively there. They say Cody Ellis is catch and shoot. They're unhappy with Wertho stepping off and helping there. They want to make sure they close out. Offensively, they're really unhappy with the lack of ball movement, especially against the zone. They want to see that ball move.
Well, that's true, and that might be a byproduct as well of just becoming too centered on Chris Goulding, and you're just going to work it around, get him the ball. You can't stop playing. Got to make sure that you're always a threat out there, and that the greater threat the other guys are, the freer Chris Goulding's going to be, because it requires some sort of help. So any sort of penetration and help, you're not going to concede a layup. Although right now, in the frame of mind Chris Goulding is, I would just say, I don't care what happens, just you stay like a tattoo on him. Make sure that he doesn't touch it.
There's that pump fake again. Young just creates some space on the D. And he gets in traffic, and a strong finish. Strong.
Look at those arms on the man, and you just saw, you're not just puff in those biceps and thighs. There is some genuine muscles.
Melbourne Tigers get it back to Goulding. Foul away from the ball on Cody Ellis, just hanging on to Scott Morrison. The Kings have scored the last 5 points to make it a 5-point game. Tommy Greer goes out. Lucas Walker back into the game. Into Worthington. He's fouled by Cody Ellis, and they'll send him to the foul line for a deuce. Good interior feed from Lucas Walker, who was wide open at the three-point line.
Mark Worthington, 3 of 9 from the field. He's got 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He was hampered in that first half with those 3 fouls, but he's yet to have another foul since then. And what a tremendous effort in that third period by the Melbourne Tigers. When you look at the first half, they double-figure scoring in the 20s in the first 2 quarters and hold the Sydney Kings to only 9 points in the third period. As we mentioned, the team that is able to adjust best on the defensive end is going to have the advantage. And right now, well, in that third period, it was the Melbourne Tigers outscoring the Kings 19-9 in that third period.
Sanders again off the mark. Had a good look at it. Worthington down low, had a pump fake of his own.
That is an interesting one because the ball had clearly hit the rim But was the ball below the rim when AJ Ogilvy hit that one?
I thought so too. Watch it, it'll hit the backboard here.
So off the backboard, you're not allowed to hit it. Ooh, it definitely wasn't going to go in anyway, but you can see that's in slow motion in real time. You can see why the referee is just concerned about seeing that ball hit the backboard.
A lot of contact. No call on the baseline.
I think Lucas Walker just got a little clip in the midsection, nether region.
See, this is what I'm talking about. There's contact there. He copped one where you don't want to cop one. But those real soft hand fouls earlier in the game, and we talk about the consistency of the calls, and it's just not there. Skip pass to Sanders. Tries to get a little closer with the shot clock down to 2, and he gets the bucket. So Sydney just hanging around, but just have not been able to get close.
Staying and mixing it up. They're going to a little 1-3-1 zone defense. And obviously, you're not going to leave that man.
Morrison looking for Goulding. Jesse Sanders with the enviable job of trying to contain Chris Goulding.
And now it even gets harder because that's the 4th team foul on the Sydney Kings. So if you're going to try and be physical with Chris Goulding now, and it's going to send him to the line, and although he's over 2 from the free throw line, not sure they want to see him there with a couple of freebies.
Worthington on the skip pass from Tomlinson. Now Goulding starting to get a little help from his friends as the lead jumps back up to 10. Young going baseline, runs into the help. Madgen up top, shot clock to 7. Garlip, he's got to get one off. Pull-up jump shot is good. 1 second left on the shot clock. It's an 8-point game. Walker to Tomlinson. Good seal, but then it's recovered by Sam Young.
10 seconds left on the shot clock. And now with this 8-point lead, Melbourne Tigers have been pretty free-flowing most of the game, but now you've got to start to get a little bit more clock conscious and say, unless something's wide open, you want to use the ball or get it to that man.
Rebounds pulled down by Ben Madgen. That's probably on Scott Morrison, it is. And Scott Morrison will exit the game with his 5th personal foul, replaced by Adam Ballinger.
Scott Morrison leads with 7 points and 7 rebounds to his tally. Got the 2 block shots as well.
Madgen up top, Sanders. Down into Young. Another strong move.
And quick move too. Really didn't give the Tigers a chance to go send a double, which right now they want to keep it out of his hands. A little problem with the ball. I think there's a bit of sweat on it. But you'd expect that Sam Young's going to be the target down low. 20 points. He's got 8 of 17 from the field, and he looks strong. Those quick moves around the basket. You see this.
.310 to go here in the 4th quarter.
Continuing with a zone defense by the Sydney Kings.
Ballinger from the baseline. That's long. Cody Ellis can't get that rebounding position. It's tough to rebound out of that 1-3-1. Goulding. That's a block, and that'll count. One ref wanted to wave it off, and the other ref's going to count it. I I think they should maybe have a chat.
Well, one had a charge. It seemed like one had a charge and one had a block, and the block prevailed.
One said it counted, one waved it off.
And there you see Shane Hill. He's alerting the ref. Have a look at it. I think that's a good call. Cody Ellis just sliding across, didn't quite have his feet set.
Well, you saw by Chris Goulding's reaction, one ref called it a charge. The other ref called it on the baseline. He was upset at the referee on the baseline and called it a charge.
And, you know, I'm surprised they didn't come together and at the very least have a chat about it. But decision was made, and I think when all said and done, probably the right one. And Goulding now on a 50-point watch. He's up to 45.
Well, that's what we're looking for. The 50-point watch is a rare bird. Garlip, good baseline move. Can't get the finish. Sanders will go to the foul line.
33 to foul. Worthington.
Well, Sanders hasn't been able to connect from the perimeter. That's been the game plan of the Melbourne Tigers as they tried against the Adelaide 36ers, who had some teams pack it in on them, Wollongong and the Perth Wildcats, and then the Melbourne Tigers tried it and didn't have the same luck as they were able to drill some shots. Next two games for the Melbourne Tigers, as Andrew Gaze mentioned, both on the road. Cairns with a big win in Wollongong, and then against the Adelaide 36ers. So a couple of tough games for the Melbourne Tigers. Every game's a tough game in this competition. The Sydney Kings will finish like that on the road to New Zealand, and then they'll finish up at home against Adelaide, who they've played very well against this year, and Townsville.
That's right, and the run home for the Sydney Kings, it's a challenging one. There's no gimmies anywhere, but still got New Zealand and Adelaide. The only thing about taking on New Zealand after their loss on Friday to the Melbourne Tigers, you'd expect that their morale might be not exactly where it was a couple of weeks ago. If you look at the ladder, and still a number of different scenarios. The Sydney Kings and the Wollongong Hawks, that is going to be a real battle, because if they tie, the Wollongong Hawks have the split on the Sydney Kings, and they still have one game remaining. Kings still have to play that, but if they split with the same record, if they end up the same record, the Wollongong Hawks would get the nod. I mean, conceivably, there's still a number of different variations that could occur. Melbourne Tigers, Sydney Kings, Wollongong Hawks could all end up together. Nathan Streppel.
Thanks, Drew. Shane just aware that time's coming out, so he said to his guys, they need to be aggressive and look to get steals now. Offensively, they're wanting to go to Adam Ballinger, isolate him in a pick and roll. They think he's their weak link defensively.
Well, the equation for the Kings right now is they need stops, and then they need quick baskets. Only 2 minutes remaining. This will put an end to it.
And there you go. That one looked like it was short, but his overall confidence gave it a couple extra centimeters, I guess. My goodness, 48 points.
And effortless, it seemed, the way he's gone about it. I know it has taken a supreme effort, but just the nature of how good he's going, he's made it look easy. My goodness, Chris Goulding, he's got a little bit of a chest pump going on as he stares down the crowd. And why wouldn't you when you got 48?
48 points in a 40-minute game. It was more like a race against the clock.
Wow.
I'm sure you're going to hear about these stats for a while. 19 of 31 from the field.
Suffice to say, a career high, too, as well for Chris Goulding.
He didn't need those extra 8 minutes.
That makes it all that more impressive.
Young tips it to Cody Ellis.
And the Sydney Kings really need to explore the three ball right now, and they don't have a lot of time. Quick shots required, and three-point shots at that. which hasn't been their strength throughout the season, the three-point line.
Imagine with a tough one. Oh, they're all going to be tough and contested. But take your hats off to that man and the Melbourne Tigers tonight. Mostly that man. 48 points as he tries to crack the 50 mark. Is it there? It's off the mark. Try and keep it alive. Young trying to get to the rim himself. That's a block and a score. It's tough to stay in front of. He comes in like a freight train, but he's able to stay under control. Got less than a minute for Goulding to hit another bucket. 9 of 15 outside the arc, 6 rebounds to go with that tally also for Chris Goulding. For Sam Young, he's been respectable, 50% from the field for his 22 points, 8 rebounds. Can't convert the three-point play.
And the Sydney Kings go to foul Nate Tomlinson. They need to stop the clock, and they're going to send Nate Tomlinson, who this season is 77% from the free throw line, so a solid free throw shooter.
He plays a solid point for him. Doesn't really hit the radar on, you know, one of the best point guards in the competition, but the Melbourne Tigers need him out on the floor.
Well, clearly, in the last 2 games, Chris Anstey's made a decision on the staff of Hurricane. His role has been reduced significantly in the win here this afternoon and also on Friday. So he's going with Nate Tomlinson regardless. And let's see if they can get Chris Goulding a shot.
There he is. He's got a good look. 50. And he gets it. 50 points. Chris Goulding with a monumental effort here at Hisense Arena. The win is what they've come here for, but the icing on the cake has been an outstanding performance from Chris Goulding. 50 points. He looks like he's going to settle with that. It might be a little disrespectful to go for 52 or 53 when everybody's giving up on the floor. Wow. Yeah, I don't care if you're at home, on the couch, having a sandwich, a beer, a cordial. Put your hands together for Chris Goulding. You are not going to see many 50-point games in a 40-minute contest.
Extraordinary individual display. 20 of 33 from the field, 9 of 15 from the three-point line, 6 rebounds to go along with it. Nathan Stremple, who have you got for us?
I've got the man of the moment, Chris Goulding. Your Melbourne Tigers all but locked into a playoff spot and a 50-point game for yourself. How do you feel, buddy?
You know, we haven't locked it in yet. There's still a little bit that can happen, but that's a giant step closer. And it feels good to try and get this franchise back to where we think we belong.
Chris, put that on top of a 17-point fourth quarter against New Zealand Friday. That's 67 points in 5 quarters. I'm thinking about calling the fire department. You're that hot.
We should play 5-quarter games. Oh, that doesn't make sense. I'm not stupid. Nah, I mean, I don't know. I'm blown away. My teammates did a great job of getting me the rock, and happy enough we could come through with this win, man. That's really all that matters.
Chris, I hear it's over 8,000 here at Hisense today. How does it feel playing in front of this crowd with such a big game?
This is fantastic. This is what we've wanted all year. To get a lot of people into this place and get a win. We haven't got one here yet this year, so it's amazing. Thanks to everyone that came out.
Well done, Chris. Back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Nathan. Chris Goulding with 50. We'll be back.
Well, we were talking about a great matchup between the Melbourne Tigers and the Sydney Kings, and you got one. But you also got the Chris Goulding show. 50 points in a 40-minute game. Outstanding shooting.
And, Steve, you got to go back to 2008 was the last time we had a 50-point game, and that was Ebiora back then. So it was a brilliant individual performance by him as we take a look at the stats, and really the big stat is an individual one. Of course, the team result is very important, but the shooting field goal percentage of the Melbourne Tigers, they were able to maintain that around the 50% mark or better for most of the game, whereas the Sydney Kings fluctuated. It was really that 9-point third quarter that cost Sydney Kings the most. Their offense wasn't able to continue the same pace as the Melbourne Tigers.
All right, the game within the game is following the coaches. You heard from Chris Anstey. Now it's time for Shane Heal.
It's all on the defensive end. You three are in the game for defense. Let's go. Trans, go, Trans. Run, Tommy. Good decisions against the pressure. Take a deep breath. You don't have to get it all back at once. Just going to be play by play. You're going to string stops. You're going to start with 3 straight stops. Hey, you're going to have to take Goulding again now. There's no way he's calling that on us. He's just flopped and he's thrown his elbow at the whole thing. Hey, no more fouls now.
Well, the intensity of Shane Heal couldn't get it done. Whose turn was it to guard Chris Goulding?
Well, it's a hard one, and you know, they tried a variety of different combinations. Individually, Sam Young didn't get the job done, and Chris Goulding heated up, and from there, he's a tough cover. And then they looked at some zone defenses, and that just gave him more encouragement to light it up from the perimeter. As we saw in his shot chart, most of them was either the three-point line or all the way to the basket, and that last two he made starts out beyond the three-point line and makes a basket. Shane Heal would not be happy with the defense if we take a look at the results of the round.
So a double for the Melbourne Tigers as they got New Zealand. Some big wins, as you can tell by the results right there. The big one, Wollongong going down to Cairns.
Yep.
And, of course, the Sydney Kings going down to the Melbourne Tigers here. And Adelaide win. They were just too strong.
They were. The Adelaide 36ers are starting to look like it. I mean, they have all year looked like a genuine contender, but even more recently, impressive 30-point win. I know there was the Doomsday Double and all those types of things that Townsville had to deal with, but nevertheless, an impressive big win as he took look at the ladder. And Melbourne right now locked up, I'm prepared to say, that third spot. And then it's going to be a fight really between the Sydney Kings and the Wollongong Hawks, primarily to see who's going, unless there's something radical happens. And then we got the game on Friday night.
The showdown between the Adelaide 36ers and the Perth Wildcats. And all year I've been talking about the best guard duo of Adam Adam Gibson, and also, not Kyrie Irving, Kyrie Irving. That would be a very good combination. But what about the Perth Wildcats guards with Jermaine Beal and, of course, Damian Martin? That's a good guard combination, too.
It is, and those two teams, like we said, good dress rehearsal for what lies ahead potentially throughout the playoffs, and both these teams are going to take some beating in order not to get to the grand final series. And don't forget about the Perth Wildcats with James Ennis as well. He's just been a super addition to the Wildcats in the NBL, so some good times ahead.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we're talking about probably the best player in the competition in James Ennis. You saw Chris Goulding tonight. You get to see a great matchup next week, Adelaide and the Perth Wildcats, and we'll see you then.